Hello again, everyone. Ken from Whittling Woods back again with another little whittling wood carving tutorial. Today we're going to use this little chunk of eastern white pine. You can see it's 4 inches long, 1 3/4 inches wide, and 1 1/8 inches. This was just dimensional lumber I picked up at one of the big box stores. Again, it's eastern white pine. If you have basswood or any wood, you know, that's also fine. I just happened to grab this piece because it was kind of the dimensions I wanted. And we're going to be doing a little Christmas tree ornament, little Santa Claus kind of head. And you know, something you can put a hook in the top, and I'll have a picture, you know, probably I guess over here. And you'll see what we're going to be whittling here, and you probably saw from the beginning as well. It's a simple little beginner type of whittle. It's not that hard. I mean, you know, if you're just brand new to whittling, it might be a bit of a challenge, but give it a shot. It's not that bad. Again, you can use any type of wood you want. If you're brand new to whittling and you have some basswood, you know, you can also scale up or scale down these measurements to whatever you want. There's plenty of leeway, and we're going to just approach this whittle, you know, with beginners in mind. And hopefully it'll get everyone in the holiday Christmas spirit. So I'm going to get everything set up, and I will be right back. Okay, I should have mentioned, I'm going to be using this Rough Rider pocket knife. This is a pocket knife I've had for probably about 15 plus years. I don't believe they make this. I'll have the model number pop up somewhere on the screen, but I don't believe they make this specific model any longer. But you know, they have ones that are similar to this. And one day I'm going to pick up one of their newer knives and see if they're as nice as these old Rough Riders. But that's what we're going to use here. So in case you were interested in you know, doing it with a pocket knife, you don't need a pocket knife to do this. If you have a dedicated whittling knife, by all means, grab that out. Okay, the first thing, what we're going to do is just kind of start taking down the edges, because we're going to have as you can see from the image over here, it's going to have the little ball on top of his hat, and his beard will kind of swing down a little bit. First thing we're going to do is just kind of take down the edges a bit here. So I just kind of run along the edge here, and I start tapering them back, you know. And again, we're going to keep in mind what the finished product is going to look like. So, you know, we're essentially taking the piece and rounding it out a bit. Probably put the hat in the first third of the piece, so approximately. I don't typically use a lot of measurements when I whittle, because, you know, whittling, you're supposed to just have a knife with you, and maybe a strop. So anyway, I'm going to do that on here, and then what I'm going to do on the bottom is kind of the same thing. I'm going to start taking down the edge a bit. You can go about this different ways. You can make the beard come to a point down here. You can make it left, right, however you want to do it. I'm going to probably swing it over to one side. I think that just adds some nice variety to it. So with that in mind, obviously we're gonna take more on one side than we would on the other. But so I'm going to just do that, and when I finish up, I'll show you what it looks like, and then you can get yourself to that point. I'll be right back. You can kind of see where I'm at here. I did neglect to mention, when you start your piece, put center lines down. You know, take a pencil and, you know, use your finger, however you want to do it, and just, you know, scribe in some center lines. I do it across the top and across the sides as well. So it'll just kind of help guide you. You know, we want the nose to be relatively centered, maybe the ball of the hat to be centered. You know, it's a little bit of a guide. But there you go. You can kind of see where we're at here. I just kind of started taking a little bit off the bottom here. You can kind of see from where I'm at on the bottom how much I removed. We'll be removing quite a bit more. I just wanted to kind of stop and show you how we're progressing here. Now keep in mind, we're going to want a little area for the ball of the hat, so we'll worry about that towards the end. It's probably one of the last things we'll put in. But also what we want to do is consider the nose being over here is going to be the most prominent feature on the face. In other words, it's going to stick out the most compared to pretty much everything else. So what we want to do is start to take back the sides a little bit, and that's why it's helpful to have a center line. You know, we kind of want to slope each of the sides in as much as possible. Now, be cognizant of the fact that you're going to have a hat, so we're going to, you know, we want to leave room for the brim of the hat, but you can kind of taper these back to some extent, and we'll put the bottom line of the hat so we know how much we can whittle up to. But I just wanted to kind of show you how we work towards that. So I'm just removing a little bit on the side here, just to hopefully make the nose more prominent, and that's kind of where we're at here with that. So you can kind of see where I progressed. So get yourself kind of to that point, and when you do, come on back and we'll talk about the next step. Okay, hope you got yourself up to this point. What we're next going to want to do is I kind of go around here and I start rounding out the top a bit more. Again, keep in mind we're going to be putting a ball. Now, if you're doing another character, maybe like a wizard or hillbilly or some other guy, you know, even just maybe the head, you just want to leave some hair. You don't have to worry about making such a prominent, leaving a significant chunk of wood to create that little tassel on the top of the Santa hat. So, but you know, it's the holiday season and Christmas is right around the corner, and we're doing this as a little tree ornament. So, you know, that's what we're aiming for. If you want to change it around, you know, be my guest. Obviously, it's your whittle. So I just kind of go around here and I just round it out. That's all. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. And again, there's other ways you can modify this. You can use a longer piece of wood and make the hat real long. That's an option too. They're kind of cool. But sometimes the little shorter whittles, again, this is 4 inches. That's to me long enough where you're gonna be hanging it on a tree there. But if you have a real big tree and you want to make a real long beard, a real long hat, that's kind of cool too. I might do one of those whittles one day as well. Maybe you don't hang it on a tree. Maybe you hang it as a decoration somewhere else. So what I'd like to do then is start figuring out where we're gonna. You know, we talked about the brim of the hat, because that's going to really control how we deepen our face. So with that in mind, we're going to start the brim of the hat here. So what I like to do is, you know, you pick an area, and I said we'll probably come down about 1/3. So, you know, eyeball it, and that looks probably about 1/3, give or take. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then just what we're going to do here is basically just put our knife kind of in the wood, put a little stop cut, and do just a little bit of a notch up to that stop cut. Don't commit yourself too heavily to this at this point, because you know you want to be able to maybe alter it a bit. So that's all I did. I kind of came in here and I put a little bit of a stop cut, just taking out a notch of wood here. That's all we're doing. Kind of see how that is. And then what I like to do is I start bringing it around, and I kind of typically slope the hat back. You can make it straight up, but I just think it looks like a hat if you start to slope the hat back towards the back of the head a bit. There you go. You kind of see how I'm sloping it, and I'll do the same thing on this side. Come around. You're basically just establishing a boundary for yourself. So there you go. Get yourself to that point, and we'll be good. You can see from the side how it slopes slightly. Real easy. All right, get yourself to that point, and I'll be right back. Now, like I said, what we're going to do here is start to taper the face. So what I'm doing here is removing some wood on the sides here. Now that we have the hat established, I'm just removing a little bit of wood on each side, because we want to leave some wood here in the center for the nose, the more prominent feature on the face. And don't work on finishing your hat and then moving on to this, because we're going to be cutting up to this piece and we're going to modify this, because what's going to happen is this area in here is going to recess in a little bit, and we're going to have to take the hat back a little bit before we finish it. This section is going to get recessed a little bit. So what only thing you're aiming for now is just to create a little, you're removing wood slight at an angle. You can kind of see how my knife is here. I'm removing wood at an angle going up to the bottom brim of the hat here. And again, the whole purpose of this is to leave a little bit of wood in this area for our nose. We're going to cut down the sides a little bit and remove some wood, but this just helps us in along that road, so to speak. That's all. I mean, typically, if you were to take some type of measuring stick and go from your ear to the tip of your nose, you would see that it's maybe a 45-degree angle. It should almost make a, when the tube, if you had two measuring sticks on each side, it should meet at a maybe 90-degree angle. Sort of, roughly. I'm not, again, these are little characters, so we're not concerned about exact anatomy here. We're just making fun little whittles to do here, and definitely approachable for beginners. So that's all. We moved a little bit of wood on either side. You can kind of see a little bit how the slope is over here. Again, I'm hoping that if you're interested in whittling and you're interested in doing a little Christmas ornament, and that you're following along with this type of tutorial here, because it's kind of geared towards that mindset. There you go. What I'm going to do here is establish where I want the nose. So, okay, let's look at the piece. I guess it's approximately the halfway point, give or take. If you look at where my knife is compared to the whole piece, we're probably at the halfway point. So maybe that's a good place to establish the bottom of the nose. And so what I do here is I put a little stop cut in, same thing we did with the hat, and I cut up to that as well. I'm probably going to switch to a smaller blade. This big blade I use mostly for bulk removal, and it's it's a little too much for this kind of stuff here. So, but that's all we're doing here. We're just establishing the bottom part of the nose. Can you kind of see from that angle over there? And this is gonna get deepened, so don't worry about how deep it is at this point, trying to say, well, this doesn't look deep enough, because what's gonna happen is we're gonna cut back here, and remove some wood. And then we also have to, don't forget, Santa's got a big bushy mustache, so it sticks out pretty far, so the nose doesn't have to be, it's not going back to the upper lip there. So that's all I'm doing. I just kind of went around here and create a little notch in the wood. I'll give you kind of a look-see from that side. So there you go. What I'm going to do is switch to the smaller blade and get yourselves to this point, and join me in a little bit to finish up the nose. Be right back. Okay, I hope you got yourself up to that point, got your little notch in there. Take your pencil and just draw little lines in here. I like to make what we're doing here is we're relieving this chunk of wood in here. That's going to be the nose. So we're going to be removing all this in here and all this in here. So what we do is we put a stop cut in here and a stop cut up in here. So I'm going to kind of show you there and there and here. And what we do is we just basically, we're going to put our knife pretty much straight in the wood here. Let me grab my knife. So we put our knife straight in the wood, kind of see how I'm going here. You can angle it slightly, don't angle it in. If you're going to angle it at all, angle it slightly outward. And just put your little stop cut. You're going to want to go kind of deep up at the top of the nose where the hat is, and kind of come down and just meet at that section of wood over there. So you put just a little relieving cut in here, and you're going to also put a little cut up at the top over here as well. Because again, the goal here is to come back over here underneath, and you can kind of see what we're doing here. We're going to be removing this little chunk of wood. So I'm going to come back in here and just kind of remove that little bit of wood. And you can sort of see, we just left a little bit. I have videos where I show you how to do the nose, so refer to those. I'll have some links for them if you're you want a little bit more detail. And that's it. So you just basically you're relieving some wood, and we're going to deepen this up here. So again, we're not finished. So these are not finishing cuts. Don't get yourself to a finish point. And then we're essentially going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to come in here with our knife, just where we at the top, just like we did, go kind of deep in there, and then drag it down. So you're kind of at the bottom of the nose, at the at that lip mustache area. And then we're going to come back in at the top and put a deep cut in there. Now, with this kind of cut, you know, it depends on if you're left or right-handed. Let's say you're doing this right-handed. You're going to come back in here. You're going to do that. You're probably going to want to come back in with a paring cut, like so. And sometimes this might be a little bit too much wood to remove in one shot. So what you could do is you could come up, you know, maybe halfway or so, and take out a little chunk of wood. Help yourself out a little bit. It'll make the wood a little bit easier to remove, and then come back down, you know, below it, and remove it. It just makes it, you know, with little whittles like this, it may not be necessary. I'm just showing you a way if if you're struggling to get that wood out cleanly. Maybe that's the way you go about it. And there you go. So get yourself up to that point, and you'll be good. Work on getting that, essentially this chunk of wood over here, like so. Get that chunk of wood exposed, and when you're ready, come on back and we'll continue some more detail on those. Alrighty, be right back. Hopefully you got yourself to that point here. It's nice to see we have this little chunk of wood. What I like to do is to bring back, I want this area in here recessed a bit more, so I kind of come in and I start to bring that back just a little bit. I want to deepen this area in here, just like your nose would slope. You know, it's creating the slope of the nose. So you kind of see here on the side. I don't come down too far because I want to kind of leave a little bit of, you know, we're going to make it kind of a little bit on the rounder side, I guess, you know, in here. But we want to just create sort of a slope in there. Can you kind of see from that angle? Then what I like to do is I start rounding the nose out. So I come along the edge and I just start rounding it out. Come back on this side, same kind of thing. I'm just going to round it out a bit more. What I typically wind up doing here at this point is going in here and deepening it because I need a little bit more depth. So this area over here I want to be a little bit deeper. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put my knife in the wood just like so. Make a little kind of a relieving stop cut over there, and I'm going to go on the top as well. So I put a cut here and I put a cut here, and then I come back in and I just remove that. And you can kind of see, it might be a little difficult, but it starts to deepen this area, and that's okay because you want this area to be deep because, you know, on your own face, it's kind of the deepest spot on your own face. So you kind of want that. That's what you're striving for, and it'll allow you to round out the bridge of the nose a little bit more. Then you're going to come back in and do the same thing on this side. So kind of stick your knife in the wood over here on the top and create that little kind of triangle of wood, and then you're going to come back in here and just remove it. So you've deepened that a little bit. And then we're going to come back in and continue to round out our nose. So there you go. What I like to do at the bottom is flare the nostril area up just a bit. You know, certain characters you may want them more flared. Other characters, you know, this is a Santa, so, you know, we're not going to flare it too much. So I'm just going to kind of come in here and put my knife in the wood and just remove a little bit on each side. I'm going to come back in here. And again, use your center lines as guides. Kind of come back in here and kind of see where I'm at. And just, you know, put a little cut in here and then just go remove that wood. So there you go. We're beginning to round the nose out a bit. And then I just kind of come around here and I just continue that process. You know, take your time. Don't rush to do these whittles. You know, I know sometimes it's nice to get things done real quickly, but you know, the more of them you do, the better you'll get. But be honest with you, everything else in life is rush. So this is a good time to slow it down. There you go. Kind of give you a look, see where we're at. So there you go. What I like to do at this point is start thinking about the nostril area. So what I like to do is I'll put a little, I typically don't necessarily draw it in, but let's put a little line here and another little line on the same side, basically on each side to give ourselves a guide. And again, I've done plenty of tutorials on the nose, and this might be repetitive for people who've watched this channel, but if you're just watching it for the first time, this is how I put it. Start the nostril. I'll put a little stop cut in here, just where we made that line, a little stop cut. And then I cut up to it at a slight angle, and I cut down to it at a slight angle. You can kind of see what we did there. That just helps start the process of creating the nostril. And let's do the same thing on this side. So we'll put our little stop cut in the wood there, and cut up and down to it like we did on that side. And there you go. You sort of got the beginnings of a bit of a nostril in there. What I like to do is, maybe round these out a bit. So I'll come back in where the upper part of the nostrils, and I might just notch out a little bit in here. It depends. Kind of like so, to make it look maybe less pointy. But again, you might want to go with a certain look. And then what I also like to do is start to scoop out a little wood right in here, right where the cut line ends. You can kind of see how the nose is starting on the bottom here. It's a little flat. So what I want to do is kind of scoop out a little bit of wood in here. Think of how your own nose is. And then we're going to come back around, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. Scooping up a little bit of wood. You can kind of see how I'm rolling my knife a little bit. And it gives you a little bit of a curve over there. And you can kind of come around and play with this to whatever level you want. Like so. Sometimes what I do is I'll come back in here at the top part of the nose area, above where we made the nostril, and I might just bring that back a little bit further. So I kind of come in here, flip it around, and I do the same thing on this side. Do you have to do that? Not necessarily, but you might want to. And then when I start to think about it, how do I want the nose to kind of be a little bit rounder, a little bit. So I just kind of come in here and I start rolling my knife around to make it a little bit rounder. That's all. That, and to get rid of the pencil lines. So even on the bottom, we'll probably come back over here. Again, these are just kind of rolling cuts. You're just taking your knife and you're rolling it away a little bit. It sort of starts to round the nose out a bit more. You can kind of come on the edge of the nostril here if you want. If you can kind of see where I'm at, right on the edge there. And round it. And round it as well. However you want to do it. You want to undercut a little bit, you can kind of come in here, deepen this, undercut it a little bit more. Maybe bring the bridge back a little bit further. You can kind of see where we're at here. Looking more and more like a nose, right? Not that hard to do. Take your time, do a few of them, and you'll get it down. They're actually pretty straightforward to do. I'm going to give you a look, see, so you can kind of get yourself to the same point here. There you go. We added our little nostrils in there, and we might round them out a bit more, but again, we're still kind of working a bit on the rough out. What I like to do, now we're going to start forming his little cheeks here. What I like to do is start with the smile line. So the smile lines typically are going to form right where your nostril, the top of your nostril. So what I like to do is I put a bit of a cut in here. So I kind of come down just below the nose a bit. You can kind of see how I did that. And I kind of come back underneath and I put my knife in the wood, just underneath the nose. I'll show you where that is here. And you can kind of see where this little triangle right in here, this little chunk of wood, kind of like what we did up here. We're going to just work it out. You know, you made the 2 cuts, so now you're going to come back. Usually with these kind of chip cuts, you're going to make a cut. You're going to make 3 cuts. One cut here, let's say, 1 cut underneath the nose, and then the next cut's going to come up and just basically pop that piece out, you know, like so. Maybe I'll get in the first attempt then, since I didn't. But there you go. And then I kind of come back in here and I maybe deepen that a bit. I might come back along that line I made, that little smile line I made, and sort of remove some wood in here too. I kind of like to do that, deepen that in here a bit more. Might have to go right along the edge of the nose and just deepen that. What this does is allows you to think about forming the cheek, and also deepens the nose a little bit more. So that's the whole point of this here, because you know, you're basically kind of see on the side over here, basically creating another plane that you're going to work with as the cheek. And it also, like I said, sets the nose back into the face just a little bit more. I'm just kind of cleaning up these cuts. So that's how I do that. And it just allows me now to kind of come back. And again, depending on what kind of character you're working with here, you might want the smile line to keep going down like that. But this is Santa, so I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to go in the opposite direction. And I'm going to put a little stop cut right there. You can kind of see where I did that, and I'm going to kind of cut up to that. That's it. So you kind of see where we're at, and then I just nip off the bottom of that area. I just kind of go around here, and that's it. You can kind of see where we did. So we created a little bit of a cheek over here. I will come back in here, and you know, like I said, I'm going to clean this up because now I'm looking at it. It's a little frayed. But you know, depending on the wood you use, if you're using basswood, you probably won't chip out as much. It'll be a little cleaner, the cuts. That's all we did here. Then I just kind of come around here and I shape it. I don't really get it all the way finished yet because we're going to be removing some stuff, but it'll create a little bit of a cheek over here. And I kind of want this to taper. I don't want it like a sharp edge there. I want everything, it's Santa, so you know, we want them as round in areas as possible. That's all. So that's kind of how we do it. So you're going to basically, well, let's do it on this side. We're going to come back over here, and we're going to put our little stop cut in here along the nose, and come right down like so, maybe slightly below the nose. Come back in underneath the nose, right in here, put a little stop cut, and then take at that little triangle of wood, just like so. That's the first step of this process. All right, and then like I said, I might come in here and just deepen that a little bit more, just to curve this smile line in the cheek a little bit. And then the next process, we're going to look at what we did on that side, and we're going to basically do the same thing. Now, again, if you're gonna, if you're doing other types of characters, you might want to raise one cheek and because it's smiling. But in this case, we're going to kind of keep things relatively symmetrical. So then we're going to come back in the opposite direction, put our stop cut in, and then just cut up to that. Try to keep them fairly symmetrical. Again, your face isn't perfectly symmetrical, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. But make an effort to kind of make it look similar. And then I just kind of nip off the bottom of it, kind of like so. We got a little kind of cheeks in there, and then clean them up. That's it. Go around, deepen it a little bit more. This needs to be a little deeper, so I'm going to come back in and start removing a little bit of wood here and a little bit of wood here. Rounding that out a bit more. hope you got yourself to that point, and I hope you're ready to do the hair. It's actually pretty easy. All we're going to do is come in along the side over here. Let's just clean this up a little bit. In here. And we're just going to put a little stop cut in. I'm going pretty much straight in the wood for the most part here. I'm just going to put a line. I'm going to kind of come down on that edge of that cheek over here, just like so. So you can kind of see where I'm at. I'm kind of at the edge of the face over there. I'm just going to come straight down with a stop cut over here, just like that. And then we're going to want to basically remove the wood up to that stop cut. We want to make it so the hair looks like it's hair, like it's sticking out a little bit, you know, on the side over there, like your hair would. So you see I'm coming up underneath it here, and I'm just cutting up to that. Kind of like that. And then I take the cheek too, the same thing. You can kind of see I'm right along the edge of the cheek here. What I'm doing is I'm just kind of tucking the cheek behind the hair a little bit by removing this little chunk of wood in here. And once you get that taken care of, you can kind of come back here and start rounding the cheek. Continue to just, you know, make the cheek round. So I just kind of go along the edge over there and I tuck it up. Maybe I bring this up a little bit more. Depends. You know, you can kind of see how we're at, where we're at here with this thing. He's got his hair kind of coming out along the side over here, and he's got a little bit of a cheek that tucks back around. There you go. Hope you were able to get that done on both sides. We're just basically exposing the hair a little bit, and that's all we did. We just went on both sides and we did that. And yeah, we're going to just taper it in. The beard and the hair are just going to kind of flow right into each other. So I just kind of bring those pieces down just a little bit, like so, and then that all gets kind of all begins to taper into one another. But what we'll do here now is we'll do the mustache. What I like to do is maybe remove some wood beneath it a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of come back in here, and we started that initially, but now we're gonna continue doing that. So I'm just, all this down here is going to be a beard. So in the back it'll be hair. We're going to make our mustache. I'm going to kind of draw it in here. Maybe that'll help. So I'm going to kind of pick a point underneath the nose. I have a little bit of that centered line left. Excuse me. Let me get back at the camera here. Right about here. So I'm going to pick a point where I want the mustache to, you know, split to occur. And then I kind of come down here on both sides. And I just wrap it around. What I'm going to do with this mustache is just kind of bring it up, or excuse me, bring it down, and then back up, like so. And the same thing on this side. I'm going to bring it down, and then kind of curve it back up. And then for forming the mustache, it's pretty easy actually. What you're going to want to do is you go on that center mark, just right there. This is eventually going to be a bit of the mouth and the bottom of the mustache. So we're going to put our knife in the wood, just like so. Just straight in the wood. And then I come back on either side of it, and I put another little cut in, just like so. A lot of these are like little chip cuts, like we talked about, like we did up here, and like we did in the eye. They're just little chip cuts. So you kind of see, you know, we created a little triangle of wood. You kind of come in there and you just pop that little chip out. And you'll do the same thing on this side. You know, you put your little stop cut in, and you've got another little triangle there, and then you're just, you know, want to come in here and pop that little bit of wood out. So it starts to separate the mustache and form the opening of the mouth, basically. So let me just clean that up for you, and you can give that a try. Just a couple little cuts in there, a couple little chip cuts essentially is what you're aiming for. So you're going to put your knife in the wood here, one over here, and then cut up to it. Turn it around, come back over here, and then cut up to it. And don't worry about how deep it is right at this point. We'll deepen that more. And then you kind of come around, follow your lines, and just put little stop cuts in and maybe notch right up to it, however you want to do it. You know, you can also kind of come in like this with your with your knife and put your stop cut in this way, and then come back underneath it and cut up to it, however you want to form, however you feel comfortable doing it. That's all. We're just rounding that mustache up. I'm going to take it right up to where that kind of that hair line is that we left in there. There you go. And kind of see, we went around and did that. And we're going to, again, what we're doing here is just roughing it out. We're getting that plane established, so don't worry about getting all the detail in there at this point. Other side, we'll do the same thing. So we just basically relieved a little bit of wood, and we created a quick little mustache, just like that. And what I'd like to do here is start thinning this out just a bit underneath of it. So I kind of start coming up to it. Again, that's why I don't, do anything to a finish, because I'm going to be, cutting up to pieces, and I might change the way they look, or I might accidentally chip something out. So if you have everything finished, it might be harder to correct a little mistake that you make. So take your time and, get all your rough in done, and then go back and finish things up. That's the way I do it. You might feel differently, but that's the way I do it. Let's continue here. What I want to do here is basically bring this down to a bit of a point over here. So we're going to work towards, our goal is going to be to get this bottom part down. So I'm going to use the guides I put in here for thinning that out, because we kind of want to come to a bit of a point, I guess is what you'd say. Again, if you want it to come straight down, then by all means, that you can do that too. I'm just showing it curved because I think, adding a little curve, I mentioned this in some of my videos, adding a little curve to these little whittles like this just adds a little bit more a dynamic nature to it. That's really pushing it, but I think it just looks a little more interesting when it's not completely symmetrical. I think it's the asymmetry that just makes it a little more interesting for people to look at. Okay, I hope you got yourself up to that point. What you could consider doing is to, instead of having this come straight down, just kind of maybe scoop out a little bit of wood right under here. Again, just in the effort to add a little bit more curve in there, something like that. You don't have to go crazy with it, but it might look good. I don't know. I was looking at it and I'm like, maybe I will, add that in there. Just slight little curve like that. That's all. It's at a point now where you can say, okay, most of everything, the way I'm looking at this piece, and I'm like, I'm pretty happy with the way it looks in general. I don't need to modify it. Anything that I'm going to add at this point is just going to be additional detail. But what I do is I kind of come in here and I start just rounding the hat out a bit. Work my way around. You can see I'm twisting the piece and I'm just working my way around. And none of this is all, most of you people, I get this and you've done. If you're brand new to whittling, then I hope I'm not moving too quick for you. I'm trying to take this one nice and slow for you. So there you go. Now you can see we could put maybe a different type of brim and square this off, and maybe you could be a cowboy. I don't know, or a wizard, whatever. You can be so many different things at this level. But again, holiday season, so let's continue with our Santa journey. Okay, now I got to a point here where I think I'm pretty happy with where the size of the tassel will be. Now again, we could have also shaped it where the tassel comes out over here, or maybe slips back or flips over. There's a bunch of different ways you can go with this, but I think since we're going to be hanging them, we want the ball up here and we can put our hook in it. So I'm just going to figure out how big of the tassel is going to be on the top over here, and I think we'll come down. Here's the if you're looking at the whole size of the hat, maybe we come down about a third or so for the tassel. We have to leave a little room for the brim of the hat that's going to have a little fur that we can paint white. So let's come down maybe a quarter. Let's say that a quarter from the the whole length, and then we'll just kind of roll our knife around and cut up to that. We're going to just make a stop cut and cut up to it. So that's all I'm doing here. I'm just kind of going around. You can kind of see I'm just going around. I'm going to get stop cut. So I'm going to finish that up and I'll be right back. left a chunk of wood there for ourselves to work with. So once I get to that point, I start the way I start rounding it out is I just kind of come around the edge here, and I'll just make angle cuts down. You can kind of see I'm going. We're gonna, we'll work on this a little bit more, but just want to kind of show you how I start the process, just like that. I work my way around, angling them downward. And then I come to the top and I do the same thing. I work my way around. Just keep narrowing and get down to to whatever size tassel, ball tassel on the head that you want. I'm not going to bore you with all these details here because I think you see what I'm doing, and I would rather have you go try it out yourself. And when you're done, come back and we'll work on the bottom part of that. I'll be right back. I'm got a little ball tassel on top of his hat there. Now we can kind of consider what we want to do with the brim of the hat. Let's kind of shape this up a little bit more. I want to bring this in. I switched to a slightly smaller blade, by the way. But what I like to do is bring the area in the back of the head and on the side here. I tuck it in just a little bit more. I want to kind of make it look like the hat is, like a hat would. It kind of presses the hair in a little bit. So I like to kind of come around here and just deepen this just a bit. Again, these are things you do or don't do, depending on what you like. And you'll find that the more you whittle, the more little detail features that you start to do without even thinking about it, just because you like them, and it's just natural for you to do that. And some people may not think about it, some people may not even notice it, but it's okay. You notice it and you like it, so you do it. And you might look at something that I do and say, no, I would do something different. And that's good. You should be doing that, That's the goal you're after here. So there you go. We got, like I said, you can see kind of on the top here. This is probably out a little bit too far. So what I like to do is kind of take this back a little bit on this side over here. This is sticking out just a bit because we deepen the nose so much, but that's okay because we can kind of start. We'll round that over a little bit more. But let's kind of just add a little bit of a bottom brim or whatever it is, a little furry part on the hat. So I'm going to just kind of do the same thing we did with the hat. We're just going to go around here. Instead of cutting up to it, I'm going to be putting these little cuts in here all around and just cutting down to it, and removing some of that wood. So I'm just going to go around and do that. You kind of see what I'm doing here. Little stop cuts and cutting up and down to it. That's all this is here. So go all around the whole hat and get yourself set up like that, and join me back and we'll finish it up. Okay, you got yourself all the little furry area on the bottom of the hat all done here. I like then, I'll come in here and I'll since we were kind of cutting in and square, removing that wood, sometimes it gets a little, doesn't look quite like it flows right. So what I like to do is come back in here and get the angle a little bit better. So I kind of come up from where I made that cut, and hopefully, like I mentioned a couple times in this video, if you're using basswood, you're not going to run into the crumbling issue that white pine, eastern white pine, will give you at times, especially as you get more long end grain. So that's all I'm doing here. I'm kind of coming back and just making that flow a little bit more evenly. Like it flows from that part, and it's not cut off. So I'm taking my knife and I'm just from where I made that cut, and I'm just kind of going right up with it. That's all. So it's just bringing those two planes of wood kind of smoothly, to, a smooth transition from one plane to another. Let me see how we did that here. It's not that hard to do. What I like to do then is I come back in here and I round over. I mentioned we're going to round over the bottom of it too. So I kind of come back in and round, and I'll just take my knife and I'll start to round it out, however you feel comfortable doing it. It shouldn't be squared off at the bottom. You know, it should be, there should be like a sharp edge here. You want to kind of come around and start to round that out as much as you can. I think it just, you know, looks better. And what I like to do is, you know, again, since this is supposed to be a little like fur, it's okay if you take little scooping cuts. You know, like we did with the beard, we're adding some texture to it. So we're okay if you come in here and you just start scooping wood around, because we want it to look like it flows around. Now, if you see a sharp edge, then, you know, take it down a little bit, smooth it out. Use your knife like almost like a gouge, where you're kind of rolling it in there and removing wood that way. In the end, I think it'll just look a little bit better for you. At least it does for me, the way I like to look at it. You can kind of see where we're at with that. It's kind of rounding a bit, you know. And I come back here, you know. In the end, I'm just going to kind of come back and do the finish work that I like to have done on it, and that usually involves just adding more and more facets to it. So I kind of come around. If I see a plane that looks a little flat, I might try to add a little bit of faceting to it, just because I think when I paint it, it's going to look better. It's going to read more as like, you know, in this case, like a little furry type part of his hat. You can kind of see where we're at there. But getting back to the eye issue. Eyes always seem to, and rightfully so, they're kind of difficult to do to some extent. You know, real detailed eyes, they really, you know, it's easy to get them wrong. And there are two things where you want to kind of get them very symmetrical, and you might get one down and you do the other side and that doesn't come out right, and you ruin your whole piece. But you don't have to. Definitely practice doing eyes. And what I would recommend you do, I did a couple videos on that, is not use a finished piece as a means of practice. Practice on, you know, do your nose and then do your eyes. And that's a good way to practice. And you'll come up with different ways to do the eyes, and simple ways and maybe more involved ways, however you want to do it. But in cases like this, what I like to do is, again, I come in here and I want to deepen that area a little bit more. This is going to be like a very simplified eye. So I just come in here and I take a little chunk of wood out, just like so. And then I kind of come back underneath, right at the top where the cheek eye area meets the hat, and I deepen that just a little bit more as well. So I take out just a little chunk of wood. And maybe from the side you can kind of see it. Let me finish that. Kind of like, can you see that? How right in here it goes in just a bit. You know, I think that's fine if you do that. And then what I like to do, well, let me get it on this side as well. Now that we kind of got the preliminaries out of the way, which is deepening the part by the nose, and then deepening it a little bit where it kind of goes under the brim of the hat, what we can simply do is just come in here with our knife, not all the way up into the corner like so, but slightly down below that. You kind of see where I'm at here? I'm not all the way up where the nose and the hat meet. I'm down a very small way below that. And then I come at an angle here, maybe like so. You can kind of say, what's that, like 20 degrees or so from the brim. And I just put a little stop cut right in there, just like so. Create a little stop cut right like that. And then I cut up to that, and I kind of cut down to it. And I think That's kind of all you need to do. It creates just a bit of a plane in there that will look like an eye. Just tucking it. That's all. You don't go wild with it. Don't have to. You don't have to. Add a lot of detail. You basically, we're taking it as simple as we possibly can, and that's all. It kind of gives the indication that there's something under there, and it reads well enough as an eye for this type of whittle, I think. You can certainly, the other option is to leave it like this and then paint one in if you're better painting. And if that makes you feel more comfortable, by all means, go that route, But in essence, that's all you really need to do. And then I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come up, you can see where I'm at compared to the other. We're pretty much at the same starting point. And then I just press right into the wood, right like so. Roll my knife a little bit so I can create a little stop cut. And then I just kind of cut up to it slightly, and then down to it slightly. I know it's not super detailed, but that's okay. You don't really need super detailed eyes on stuff like this. Maybe he's got his eyes maybe he's winking. He's got his eyes closed. Maybe he's sleeping. A rough Christmas Eve, and he's taking a nap. But that's all. It gives just a bit of a. And if you deepen this area in here, it kind of looks like it is an eye back in there, and it'll give you with essentially just a couple cuts. It gives you enough of an eye, enough of the look of an eye to suffice, I think, for this kind of thing. You can see it doesn't look that bad. Now for the mouth, again, real simple, not complicated. Anybody can do this. It's basically just a few cuts. First thing I do is I might deepen this part in here a little bit, and I might stick my knife in here and in here and just deepen it. You can do it now or you can do it right at the end. It doesn't matter. But you just want to kind of deepen that a little bit. And then what I like to do is, how about if I draw this in? That might be easier initially. I'm going to take a cut here and a cut here. Basically form a little bit of a triangle. Draw that a little bit better. Just like so. Just kind of like what we did with the eye, we're going to put our knife in the wood right there. Flip it over, put our knife in the wood right there. It should meet they should meet at the little apex of the triangle. I like to come in on this side, put a little stop cut. And on this side, this is again one of those 3-cut chip kind of cuts. Now we've got a line, we've got a cut here and underneath the mustache, and we're just going to remove that little bit of wood under there. Flip it over and do the same thing on this side. And then you should have like a bit of a triangle that you can notch off at the bottom. So it's real simple. It's only a few cuts that you have to make, and it gives the indication, I got some blue pencil lines in there, but it gives some indication that there's a bit of a lower lip in there. And then you could, like I said, you could deepen this. What I sometimes like to do is I come right in here, and with my knife I just kind of maybe scoop out a little bit of wood. You can kind of see like that. He's going ho ho ho. And then just now what you want to do is just start thinking about cleaning it up. But after I get done the lip over here, and that's why sometimes I don't draw in pencil lines. I know I should sometimes, but then I go back and I gotta spend time cleaning them up because they're blue. But what I like to do is remove a little bit of wood right underneath there, just to make it all kind of come together, make the lips a little bit more predominant in that area. And then when you paint it, again, we're gonna, you add a little bit of you take your skin tone that you're going to put in the cheeks, and you add just a bit of pinkish color to it. Not a lot. So you don't want them to look like he's got lipstick on, but just enough to. So when somebody's looking at it, they'll see that a little pinker color in there, and they'll know that that's a lip. And that's about all. So what I like to do, like I said, is I'll come back in here at the end. I'm just going to show you real quick. I'll start adding little texturing cuts to all the hair. I don't like sharp edges if I can avoid it. I want everything to kind of roll around. So I take my time and I get the amount of detail that I think I'd like to see in the piece. And most of this is just adding, in this style, like I mentioned, we're not doing, I could come in here and put cuts and then come back and go on them. That's fine too. You can certainly do that. And I've done a number of videos where I finish the pieces like that as well. That's definitely an option. But for this one, I think what I like to do is just keep these faceting cuts. The more whittles I do, the more I like that kind of look. I like that style. So that just involves coming in and rolling my knife. And I kind of think about how the hair flows. So if the mustache is kind of flowing this way, I might roll my knife right along it like that, and then flip the piece here, and roll my knife to kind of follow the flow. And the beard, same thing. I might start. Obviously, it's flowing in this direction, so I might come back in here and sort of roll my knife around. And kind of see what we're after here. If you hung them with me this long, I do appreciate that. I hope it was beneficial and you learned something from it. What I'm going to do here is just kind of finish up what I'm doing, going through cleaning it up, and you can see we're pretty much done here. I might, do I want to make that ball a little bit smaller? I don't know. I think it's kind of, I kind of like the way it is now. You see, it'll be kind of a fun little ornament to hang on the tree. So I'm just going to finish doing my little cleanup, and I'll be right back. Okay, there you go. I just kind of cleaned it up, added a little bit of fastening to different parts of it, and that's it. Really, if you take it step by step, I think this is definitely the type of project that a beginner could take on and do without any problem. You get yourself a nice little Christmas ornament that every year you can hang up on the tree and enjoy. It's a fun little whittle to do. I'm just going to paint it up, and we'll call it good for this little tutorial. I hope everyone found that useful. Thank you so much for hanging in there. I know it was a long one, but get yourself, like I said, I'm trying. I did one video before about getting started whittling in this holiday season. So here's one to take on. We did a little like evergreen tree, Christmas type tree. This is your next one to do. So do it, put it on your Christmas tree, and have a very happy Christmas. But that's it for me. I'll paint it up, and you'll see it when it's all done there. Alrighty, take care. Have a great whittling week. Talk to you again soon.